This is your Weather Extreme video for Sunday, March the 4th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peterson. Well, it was an interesting day yesterday, and looks like we have some interesting weather ahead of us, especially in about a week. But in the meantime, let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Here's a trace from my temperature gauge, and very interesting. You can see it was falling as a result of the front that came through, but the sun helped offset some of the cold air advection, at least for a couple of hours or several hours, till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so. And then it began a slow, gradual fall to just above the freezing mark. But this morning, the sky is momentarily cloud-free in many spots. There's a look from the Trussville Sky Cam, and there's a look from Mount Cheehaw, but we do expect to see some clouds passing by today. There's a look at the surface map and the cold front across the peninsula of Florida. High pressure filling in between the two, although its origin is not of such cold air. But we do have a pretty good trough in the upper atmosphere that is bringing some colder air in, and of course temperatures for early March are running a little bit below where they ought to be, with the highs and lows running on the order of about 5 to 8 degrees below where they ought to be. You can see it is not exceptionally cold across the vast fruited plain, but it is certainly very cold across the southern or the eastern part of Canada, and some of that cold air dipping down into the western Great Lakes region in the vicinity of, Wisconsin and Minnesota. 32-degree isotherm making its way down into the southeastern U.S., down into Tennessee, and actually into some parts of north central Alabama. A few spots getting down there. There's a look at a little closer look, and you can see 32 at Fort Payne, 29 over at Haleyville. So temperatures definitely on the verge of the freezing mark. It looks like we'll have another couple of chilly mornings, too, before it's over. Radar shows that we do have a few little isolated spots of precipitation that is moving through that northwesterly flow, and as a matter of fact, that has prompted some advisories. Now, first of all, the purple that you see across north and eastern Kentucky and parts of extreme, I guess you'd call that western Virginia, not West Virginia, but western Virginia. Those are winter weather advisories for snow on the order of 1 to 3 inches. The red that stretches from the Florida Peninsula across central Alabama and up into Missouri and parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, that is actually fire weather alert for the extreme dry conditions. Now, if you really want a quick forecast, the QPF pretty well tells that story. Looks like we're going to stay dry for the next 4 to 5 days. This goes out through Friday morning. It looks like the next best chance for us for rain is going to come probably on Friday. No organized severe thunderstorms are forecast by SPC, but thunderstorms are possible across the southern Florida peninsula. The 060 GFS model run, and I'll be interspersing it with a few charts from the European, which is actually off by 6 hours, so just keep that in mind. We're going to have this, the maps will have the same time. This is at midday today, and you can see the trough going on by, but notice the little vorticity maximum in the flow over over South Dakota, or eastern South Dakota. That is going to be associated with a little bit of precipitation. First of all, you can see the precipitation, the GFS picking up that little bit of snow over Kentucky. And then you can see the precipitation with that vortmax back in the Dakotas and coming down into Iowa. That is going to move very quickly and be over North Carolina, that little disturbance, that vorticity max over North Carolina by Monday. And by then, of course, much of the precipitation will be exiting the Appalachians with, I wouldn't be surprised to see some, maybe 3 to 6 inch amounts at some higher elevations over there. In the meantime, though, by Tuesday, all of the troughs have been replaced by a nice ridge extending up into the Great Lakes from the southern U.S. We stay under that ridge as it pumps up in response to the development of another closed low coming into the Four Corners area on Wednesday. So that certainly will warm us up nicely. We stay under that ridge. Now, we got some differences coming here shortly, but this is Thursday. There's the closed low beginning to come out of the Four Corners area, edging towards the Texas Panhandle. In the meantime, there is a sizable trough over central Canada, or sizable vortex there that is going to create a trough, and the GFS doesn't put as much faith in that as the European does, but we'll talk about that in just a second. In the meantime, we stay dry, but moisture returns off to our west in Texas, and you can see a good deal of precipitation over Texas, Oklahoma, kind of the central U.S., and ahead of that front up into the eastern Great Lakes. Now, the European at this particular time is actually in pretty good agreement. The two models are pretty close in where they're talking about the precipitation and in the position of the low. So good agreement at this point. That's where it all begins to change, unfortunately. Here's the GFS. And once again, the closed low over the Oklahoma panhandle. And a lot of precipitation still to our west. So the GFS is suggesting that Friday will be dry. Not quite sure I buy that completely. Maybe we'll start the day dry, but I think that there's a pretty good chance that we'll have some precipitation during the day Friday. Now, the European, on the other hand, is much more aggressive with this, and I think the European may have a slightly better handle on it. So I'm going to kind of stick with that and put in a fairly good chance of rain for and storms for Friday. Now, again, the models differ quite a bit here, so we'll have to kind of look at them. But here's why the European differs so much, is that it puts a much stronger trough over eastern Canada, and that trough makes its influence felt all the way down to about the Ohio River Valley. And if you want to stretch the imagination, maybe actually into the Tennessee River Valley, but at least into Kentucky, okay? And that is why it's being more aggressive with the weather getting in here, whereas the GFS, on the other hand, not as aggressive with that piece of energy. But also notice the difference. The European keeps the closed low much closer to the Four Corners area. Remember, the GFS had it out over the Oklahoma Panhandle. All right, so we get back to our regular maps. Here's the GFS for Saturday, and again, we're at midday. And you can see the strong trough over eastern Canada. There's the closed low, not moving hardly at all. It hasn't moved much from Saturday. It looks like it's actually gotten a little stronger. And with that, there's no rain here yet, according to the GFS. I just can't quite buy that. I think that Friday and Saturday we should probably see some precipitation. Now, at that point, of course, what do you say? But the GFS now showing that the closed low comes out over Oklahoma on Sunday, a week from today, and that would become probably a wet day for us. I think the timing is off on the GFS, and I think this is going to change substantially. And edging out into Voodoo, there's the GFS on Monday, finally bringing that closed low northeastward, and of course that would certainly give us a wet Monday. So a lot of uncertainty in the forecast out at the end of the period, at least beginning on Friday. And I still think that we'll see a good chance of rain. Now, let's go way out into Voodoo. And, of course, the GFS has lost all its credibility here, but, it's the only thing we have. So we'll talk about it very quickly. And that is that the ridge returns, so warm weather around the Ides of March 15th. And then we see another one of those bowling ball closed lows coming out of the Four Corners area around the 17th. And then it's like this one. It seems to be taking its time. It's still over the Central Plain states. So the bottom line is a lot of uncertainty out into the future, but certainly there's no sign of anything in the way of any extreme weather at this moment. And keep in mind, a week from today, we drop back. We spring forward. So we begin daylight savings time in a week from today. Well, that'll do it. James Spann should be back in the saddle once again on Monday morning with the next Weather Xtreme video. In the meantime, I hope your Sunday is a wonderful one, and Godspeed.
Thank you for trusting us to be your #1 source for news
in all of Central Alabama.
In back-to-back ratings periods,
more people watched ABC 3340
than any other station in Birmingham.